I totally support everything that Philippa Jamison said. And thank you for reading my submission. I'd like to cover some issues that I did not address in it. Science is an unfolding story. There are lots of unknowns in science, but we really hear much about them. By the latest estimates, the human body is thought to comprise of at least 37 trillion cells. Science has no idea what over 30% of the proteins in the human body do. So genetic engineers and those doing gene editing cannot tell with certainty what their food might do to the human body. So how will our bodies react to a future of genetically modified food? In 2003, I was flying home from Melbourne and found myself sitting next to Andrew Ferrier, the new CEO of Fonterra. After an initial chat about our jobs, mine being the owner of Lisa's Hummus, and also our sons played ice hockey, then we ended up talking about genetic engineering for 3 hours. Andrew listened very respectfully and showed increasing interest, especially when I explained that the human gut is designed to digest what nature provides for us, and our body's response to artificially made food in the lab is entirely unknown. Now, my business was built on ethical interest, health food, and GM-free, and the bottles were labelled as GM-free, which was very popular. So anyway, a few years later, I was at a Westpac cocktail party, and Andrew approached me and said, Lisa, I want you to know we have not let GE out of the lab. So for all those years he was at Fonterra, that was their policy, keep it in the lab. Andrew had understood the complexity of the interaction of food and the human microbiome. The management at Fonterra may have changed, but today they use the non-GMO project to export GE-free milk to the USA. Non-GMO is a marketing tool for premium products that New Zealand exports. Consumer demand and sentiment for GE-free has grown, and people demand the right to choose, and for that we need labelling. Science has produced huge numbers of unsuccessful products and processes that now affect our bodies. Trans fats, 25 years ago, were not considered a problem. Highly processed food created in a lab is now considered unhealthy, as is fructose, corn syrup, but they have happily been unleashed on the population. Microplastics are everywhere, causing harm. No one knew the harm that they would cause when plastic was first invented. Like GMOs, they are a Pandora's box that can't be put back or fixed. So it's clear that science is an unfolding story, and gene technology is a particularly big minefield. Keeping GE in the lab is vital because there is compelling evidence for the interconnectedness of life. Ecosystems have intricate interdependencies between species. Trees communicate and share nutrients through mycorrhizal networks. Microorganisms play crucial roles in larger organisms, whether it's fungi and plant root systems or microbes in our gut, impacting our nutrition, mental health, allergies, and more. Diverse organisms from bacteria to humans show this interconnectedness of life. This interconnectedness is why precaution is needed with gene technology. To let GE out of the environment is final. It can't be put back. The committee chair, Mr. Sam Uffenden, wrote an excellent article in 2020 about a shift to a more sustainable method of agricultural production. He wrote consumer preferences, government regulations, environmental sustainability, and evolving farming practices are all contributing to a shift towards a cleaner, more sustainable methods of agricultural production. Thank you, MP Uffenden. Consumers don't consider gene technology as genuinely cleaner or more sustainable compared to alternatives, and New Zealand is an ideal place to keep GE out of the environment. We're surrounded by water. Consumers worldwide want clean, green, and increasingly organic food, so I would like to request a Royal Commission on genetic modification before this bill goes ahead any further. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you very much for your presentation today. The committee's enjoyed having you here, and thank you for your advocacy in this space. Enjoy your day. Thank you.
She's amazing, isn't she? Look, she's just nature. How clever was it to reference Sam's own article?
That's always what you do, to sit down there and catch people out on things, especially when they look like they're in hypocritical situations.
The other thing I would note is that how much it was just a sort of accidental event where she was sitting next to somebody in a powerful position, and she managed to chat away to them on the plane, and that possibly shaped Fonterra's policy for a significant period of time. And we sort of look at Luxon, and he seems to be a little bit like Muldoon, where he's surrounded by lobbyists, and he's been convinced, like Muldoon was, he was convinced that he was doing the right thing for agriculture, and so many farmers lost their farms under him, and he is a well-hated, even though farmers still tend to vote right-wing. He is not considered very popular because of the 20% interest and the massive increase in farm values. It basically shifted heaps of farmers and destroyed rural communities. And I just think if this bill comes in, Luxon is actually going to be considered worse.
I think he's already going down that path already. I'm like, put it this way, Luxon's government has used urgency more than any other government in history. The previous record breaker was John Key, who bet Muldoon's record on urgency, which is quite intriguing how it managed to actually beat, because Muldoon was known as the urgency king, and this government has just basically obliterated the Muldoon urgency that was just mad as anything.
Well, urgency is actually a mind hack. So if you look at the nudge units and things like that, and if you're marketing and PR, if you can create a sense of fear and urgency in people, it actually it breaks down the barrier of rational thinking and careful decision making. So it's actually a real problem to sort of treat your population like that on an ongoing basis, and I really dislike it as a sort of a policy that we've sort of seen over the past 50
week.
I think
the House didn't go into urgency, but the week before it did, and it was an urgency for effectively 2 days. Let's take a look at an example. The Land Transport Drug Driving Amendment Bill was passed into urgency, and I think I'm not sure if it did committee house, but it did third reading. The Sentencing Reform Bill did both committee house and the third reading. One bill that wasn't passed under urgency that just passed in the last week was the Section 7AA removal of the old Rangatamariki Act that had 2 stages in the space of 1 week. So one bill was a bunch of legislation was set under urgency, but this last week just been, nothing was under urgency. But without being under urgency, you can still pass a realistic amount of legislation.
Yeah, I was talking to a distant cousin of mine in Takaka, and she said, look, it's January and I've already submitted on 5 bills. And she's like, I'm hyper-focused on this one, but I know that if I've only submitted on 2, the treaty principles and this, but it creates a distress. Like, I haven't actually picked up a paintbrush in about 3 months, which is supposed to be my job. And you end up sort of sucked into the political ecosystem because
I've got one now I submitted last Thursday, which was the right of repair bill of Marama Davidson. So that was one that was done. We've got, as the organisation, we've got 2 bills to deal with, which is the 4-year term, the referendum framework. So it's a bit coming.
Well, the right of repair is hugely important to farmers because in terms of tractors, they're trying to patent tractors so that they data gather and farmers can't repair their old tractors and they have to use the new tractors which gather all the soil data and all of the weather data and things like that. And it's sort of sold offshore and used as a thing to sort of predict future markets and bet against New Zealand to make sure that our exports are sort of under threat. It's the whole thing. And so it's really hard to keep up with. And I really dislike this. Conservatives, there's this old-fashioned thing, it's called the Chesterton principle, where conservatives don't pull down a fence until you know why it was put up. And this government is not conservative at all.
John Deere, and that would have been coming from Laura. Okay, we're going to take a quick break for a countdown, and you'll have the next fun of the next 2 hours with my astounding co-host, Laura.
Awesome. And Elvira, isn't it? She's amazing.
And Claire.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed to our